Hey guys, this is Sanjeet. I know in our last tutorial we talked about Game Manager, basically how to link it with our whole scripts, how to be able to link it with our whole game. We've talked about how to have the Game Manager take care of most of the stuff like score decrementing and all that. So there's a couple things I forgot to mention. So they're not that hard. It's just one thing I forgot is one, so your game manager script, you should drag your score display towards it. Also create another user interface, image and source image. Also make this input field background. We don't want it to fill. Change the color. You can pick whatever color you like. I like red. So play around with the width, see if it fits. It's gonna make this a little bit smaller. And I'll make this one. Nah, I'll make it right here. Make this 100. Make this a little more slighter. I think, yeah, 100 might do. Save this and rename this. So call it game over outline and check it off. So basically from the game manager script, so game manager is what kind of what links the whole game together. So basically it takes care of our score decrementation, it decreases our time, adds increments our score, shows all these messages, how much points you earn, you win, and all that stuff. That's what Game Manager is mainly going to take care of. So we just also need to drag and drop game over score outline. So basically, let's say if we win the game or lose or timer runs out, this is what's supposed to happen. So, oh, forgot to explain one more thing. So in the last tutorial, we made it to 5. I kind of played around with it at 15. So let's start the time at 5 first. So see it decrement. See all this messages that came up. So play again. We're actually gonna work on the play again part a little bit better. So I'll explain more of that in more other tutorials I'll have. So when we lose the game, if we want to play again, we should be seeing our play again. These messages rotate, and we should be able to. If you want to play again, just like in any other video game. We'll get into that in other tutorials. I just wanted to point this out. So what the game manager is actually doing. So we I know our user interface for the time says 15.0. That's because at start time we can actually make the time at whatever we want to start it at. So let me actually do 30. Now it's at 30. Nothing really magic about it. So now I think we can actually get more into the AI. So for the AI, we're first gonna create an empty game object. And let's rename this game object to spawner. And let's also make another new C# script. And let's call this spawn game object. Let's just open this up. Okay, so we have that. So now we just need to do is add some public variables. So I'm going to start with public float seconds between spawning equals 0.1f. So the seconds between spawning, this is mainly for enemy AI because we want to be able to make our enemy AI spawn between this much amount of seconds, so 0.1 seconds. So we also want to be able to add our x, y, and z coordinates. So we're going to say public float. So have an x min range. And actually for the x, y, z coordinates, for the minimum and maximum range, you can actually pick the numbers you want. Because these coordinates, these x, y, and z coordinates and minimum and maximum numbers are picking out, this is these are the positions, the exact positions we're going to have the AI spawn at these certain points. So let's make x min range negatives 25.0f. And let's also add another public float method called x max range. And let's make this 20.5.0f. Again, I'm just picking the numbers I like. You can pick whatever numbers you like. And actually, since I'm doing x, y, and z, I can just copy and paste. So alright, so now I got my x, y, and z minimum and maximum range. So now the next public variable I'm going to create is public, and we're going to make it an index. So we're going to use array list for this. So public game object, and you can just write the index notation. So public game object, we're going to call it spawn objects actually. Spawn objects. And then also create a private variable, private float, next spawn time. So after seconds between it spawns and exits, it's going to be spawning it's going to have the next spawn session time as well, the next spawn time. Alright, so we got all these variables set up. Let's go into start. So this is how we want to start the game. So next spawn time equals time plus seconds between spawning. Alright, that's all you need for the start. So for update, so if game manager, so I know we didn't set up the game manager variable in here. That's because in our last tutorial, when we were working with the game manager class, when we made public static game manager, that static variable, that static method in our variable, it makes, specifically for game manager we initialized it for, it makes game manager, this variable from this class, accessible towards every other script as well. So just like I commented, so my spawn game object and the rest of my scripts can access game manager from this script. So game manager.gm, so now if game manager gm dot game is over, then we want to return it something. That that return is going to come from the game manager script itself, so we don't really have to worry about that too much. We should just let it know we should let it know in the update every time between the spawn game objects. Like let's say if we shoot a projectile at the enemy or whatever, it should update everything through game manager. So that takes care of that. So if time dot time is greater than or equal to the next spawn time, so 1, we want to be able to, we're gonna add this new method in here, make sync to spawn, make thing to spawn, and then next spawn time equals time dot time plus so second between spawning, so next spawn time, so the amount of time that we have, so between the amount of time we have that's greater than the next spawn time, our enemy AI should spawn every time between the certain amount of seconds we have that are given. So we can just close that, and then we should be setting up a new void method. Void make thing to spawn. Alright, so now we're going to actually apply a little bit of linear algebra in here. So we're going to call a vector3 method. Don't worry if you haven't taken linear algebra. I mean, that's fine. You're just calling a vector3 method. Spawn position. So now for spawn position, you're going to initialize its XYZ coordinates. So in order to make things spawn, it should be spawning at that exact X, Y, and Z position. So I'm gonna say spawn position dot X equals random range. So it's actually now at a random range. So between all these X, Y, Z minimum and maximum coordinate positions we initialize, between all these positions, it's going to be between these positions only, between minimum and maximum at any of the random ranges, at any random position. Oh, meant to say range. So now pass our 2 parameters in that we already set up. So for X, I'm just going to say X min range. X max range. And same thing for the rest. So you can actually just copy and paste dot y, y, y. For Z, what happened here? Oh, that's my fault. Nah. Alright. So now after that, what we can do now is create another int. So int object to spawn and equals random. So just simple basic math. And pass parameters to random.range. So between 0 to spawn object. So spawn objects dot length. Alright, so now next thing I want to be able to do is game object and we're going to call this spawned object, and this is going to equal, so we're going to instantiate everything. So we're going to instantiate it and then just say spawned objects to spawn, spawn the position, and then we also want to be able to spawn the transform, the rotate. So we want to be able to make it rotate and move in any of the between our x min and y, between our x minimum to our, from our x, y, and z coordinate, between every minimum and maximum range. We want to be able to make it spawn in between those exact ranges. So we want to be able to make it spawn and move at the same time. Oops. I mean, this should be actually spawned. One sec. Alright, now that's more better. So now we should just be able to do spawned object dot transform dot parent and say equals game object dot transform. So now it can rotate and move. And now we just want to be able to run our script. Oh, hey, we have no errors. Alright, so that looks fine. So let's just run it one more time. Okay. So now that that's fine, I'll wait for it just to update everything. Okay. You can just drag and drop the spawn game object script. Or do it however you want. I'm just going to try to drag and drop. Okay. So which object I want to spawn is just one. And who's going to be the first lucky guest? Let's make it the robot. And actually, we can get rid of the robot. We don't need him in here right now. So right now, it's just going to spawn. We still have more movement to be able to add to it. But we'll actually get into that probably in the next tutorial. Let's just test play our game just to see if everything's what it should be. Okay, so it looks right to me. The reason you can't really see the robot right now is because we didn't really attach so many other scripts to the robot. So there's just one more thing I just want to do. Let's drag him back here. Let's Control Z it. I just want to drag him to our prefabs. Oh, and one more thing, I forgot to drag him in here as well. Sorry about that. So I think we should be able to see our robot. Alright, so our robot right now, it's not going to exactly spawn the way you want it to because it still needs more script added to it, but we're actually going to get into that in the next tutorial, but everything the way it should be working. So we have this here. So in the next tutorial, actually, we're going to learn how to actually script the robot without even having to have it present in this hierarchy scene. So we're going to actually work on adding some C# scripts to the AI itself. So we got the spawner stuff already written down. We just need to add it to the AI, which isn't going to be too difficult. So thank you for watching. Please leave a comment. Please subscribe. Thank you.